Hi, this is Kim from Dorothy's Daughter. This is 20 Days of Christmas Sewing. Welcome to my channel and welcome to new subscribers. I've had a few lately. Just want to say a big hearty welcome and do click the subscribe button if you'd like to know every time I post a video. All right, so this one is called From Fuzzy to Fabulous, and it's a little bit different than the other videos I've done before. A little bit of backstory. I actually am a photographer. I photographed over 600 weddings in my career and won some awards and traveled really worldwide to do photography. And in 2016, I had a fall down the stairs that has left me with a permanent disability and has caused me to close my business. So that's why I went ahead and I started my YouTube channel with sewing, my other great loves. So, but I know a lot about photography and I have a lot to share. So I just thought that I would do a video that will help you make your holiday photos a little better. I used to give these workshops on Saturdays and people would come and spend the entire day and practice and all that. But I did have a short version that I used to give at like Rotary Clubs and women's clubs and things like that. So what I would like to share with you today is that short version. I would like to share some 10 tips that you can use with any camera. It doesn't matter if it's a point and shoot. You know, one of my mentors a long time ago told me the only bad camera is the one that you forgot to bring. So keep that in mind. And if it's just your phone, it's just your phone. And honestly, phones are getting so good lately that it's almost as good as having a camera. It certainly rivals any point and shoot that you might pick up out there. There are concepts to photography that you can use to just better your photography, even if all you're using is your phone. But you'll have better lasting memories. You'll be able to accent what you want accented, and hopefully this will help you do that. Now this is a departure from sewing, just a one video thing. So I apologize for those of you who tuned in and wanted to see sewing. It's going to be a little bit different. We are in the middle of a 4 video series where we are creating things with photographs with fabric. So it does tie in. And I hope this helps you. I hope that you can just save your lasting memories. It's something that has been a passion of mine for a long time, that videos are great. And here I am sitting on YouTube doing videos. But can I just tell you that we have all these videos, but a still photograph captures a moment in time like no other. Life is made up of tiny little moments. And I don't want to see still photography go by the wayside. It's just so important. And so I'm going to go ahead and show you the slideshow and talk you through the 10 steps. And I'll be more than happy to answer questions in the comments. And I apologize if you wanted to see sewing. This is a one-time departure, okay? This is me on that little rocking horse, if you can believe it, at age 3. Photography takes an instant out of time, altering life by holding it still. And one of my very favorite photographers in history said that, Dorothy Lang, who was quite an accomplished person. And it's just so true. Life is made up of all these little moments. And so it's good to remember that photography is made up of just tons of little moments. Another quote from Henri Cartier-Bresson, who is a very, very famous photographer. He said, to photograph is to hold one's breath. And I love that because that's exactly the feeling that I would always get I still do, because I still do it a little bit for my family, and that when you see that perfect photo, I mean, I would walk around all day framing things. Everything I saw was a photograph in my brain. And so as you see that, when you would find that perfect photo, you would just, hold your breath. And that's that kind of the feeling that you get when you just frame everything perfectly. So I'm going to give you 10 tips for better family photographs. So the first one is to identify the subject. I mean, it can be a person, or it can be a situation, or it can be a couple people. But identify what it is you want to say. If you want to say the subject is the love between the mom and son, then you might want to do something like this. And that is a mommy giving her son a little kiss on the nose. That was a moment in time, but it speaks volumes about what the subject of that photo is. There's no doubt what the subject of that is. So one way that you can do that is number 2, focus attention on the subject. Once you know what it is, focus all attention onto that subject. So going back to that photo, knowing that that was the subject of the photo, there was a lot of things going on around them. It was actually in a horse barn, and there were horses and things, but the subject was that moment between mother and son. So just keep that in mind as you're photographing your child's delight over something or whatever it happens to be. Find out what this subject is and do whatever you can to focus in on that. And there's a couple ways you can do it. One is by using leading lines. And typically there might be some lines already in the frame. Like here I have a couple. This is an engagement shoot that I did in Chicago. And there, I think it's the courthouse or library steps there. And I have those lines leading right to the couple. There are a lot of times when you'll see like the side of a building or something like that. But look for those things. Railroad tracks, just all kinds of things can just lead your eye right into that subject. The second way that you can do, number 2, focusing attention on your subject, is by framing. And you can do that by using things in the foreground that kind of make a frame around your subject. Here's an example at a wedding. I shot from outside in, so I used that window to frame them. I actually lit them with a little light that was can't see off camera, so that I would be sure to get them through the window and not glare. It's a little tricky to do, but the result, was really amazing. So if you can shoot through a tree, you can shoot through a stairway, you can shoot through the rails of a crib. Any way that you can just kind of focus on the subject by putting something around it. Here's another one, the same little boy. He was in a horse barn, and I used a tree and then the side of the building and a pillar to kind of frame him in. Another way is that you can limit the focus. A lot of the newer iPhones actually have that on them now, where you can put it in portrait mode and you can select your aperture. And aperture is just how deep is the focus of that picture. So the lower the number, the less is in focus. So you can do that even with phones now. But if you limit the focus, that focuses everything into that thing that you want to illuminate. Here's an example of that. This little guy's eyes. This picture was all about this little guy's eyes. And so everything around him was blurred, and just his little face and his eyes were the thing that were tack sharp. And just, if you're going to focus on anything, if you struggle with knowing where to put that focus, a person's eyes are what you want to have in the greatest focus, if possible. Okay, number 3 is to just simplify. Once you've focused everything on your subject, you want to get rid of everything that you don't need. Okay, so here's a couple of little newborn twins, and I didn't need, that was in a bedroom. They were on a bed. There were toys around them and all kinds of things, but I didn't need to have anything in this photo except the twins. And just the way they were laying, they kind of looked alike. They were not identical, but just the way they were laying kind of identically, and it just kind of focused on the fact that they were twins. So there were tons of things around that room, but I just focused solely on them. Number 4 is be quick. If you have a burst mode on any camera, use it, because you'll have a lot that you'll have to throw away, but you'll get that one moment and with kids, oh my goodness, you have to be so quick because they move so fast. They might be, jumping up in the air or twirling around with bubbles or whatever kids do. But you have to be really fast. And that's one area where a camera might make a difference, because a lot of the digital point and shoot digital types, they have a delay from when you hit the button. There's a little bit of a lag. And the same way with the phones. But I would say if you use burst mode, you still might be likely to catch it. But with an SLR, it's immediate. When you hit that button, it's immediate. So you want to get an SLR. And now they have these wonderful mirrorless cameras, which I do not own one of those yet because they kind of came out just as I was closing my business. And financially, that was a hard enough hit for us. So I really would like to have one. They're great with video too, so that would actually improve this channel too. But I would really like to have one of those because they're just instantaneous. Here's an example. That same little guy that was sitting in the frame, he suddenly jumped off of there and caught him in midair. Kids and animals, you have to be so quick. You can't hesitate, because as soon as you do, they're gone. They're just gone. This is my little granddaughter. She's now 10. This is when she was 3 years old, but she was getting ready to blow her candles out. And you only have that one little moment while they're taking that breath and ready to blow. Number 5, when it comes to children, you want to photograph them at eye level. Unless you're trying to make them look really small, that may be possible too, but you want to photograph kids at eye level. There's a tenderness about it when you do that. So don't be afraid to get down on your knees. This is why I can't do my job anymore, because I cannot get down on my knees anymore, or squat or anything like that. So it really affected my ability to do that, and I would rather give it up as a business than to not serve my clients well. So that is why I gave it up, basically, because I can't do those positions that I used to. I used to be all over the place, like a ninja, and I can't move like that anymore. But right here, there's no doubt it's, you're looking her right in the eye. So number 6 is fill the frame. Here's this little guy, and there's nothing else in the photograph but him. You go right to his face. You absolutely know the expression on his face is what this picture is about, and there's absolutely nothing else in the photograph, so you can't even get it confused. You know that it's so filled up in the frame by what you want the person to look at. I'm going to show you an example of how that makes a difference. Here's the scene. This is a nice photo. This is my son-in-law and another guy letting go of a lantern at my granddaughter's birthday party. It's a beautiful photograph. There's nothing wrong with the lighting. It's really nice. And it shows, the scenery. But look at this. Now this really feels like it's telling the story of my granddaughter's wonderment. She was just enamored with being able to let off lights like Rapunzel did. So that really tells the story so much better than the other photograph. So that's an example of filling the frame. Number 7 is the rule of thirds. So the rule of thirds says that take your image and divide it into 3, both directions, okay? And there are 4 places where those lines intersect. Whatever your point of interest is, it should be in one of those points. So if it's a person, you should have the eyes into that plane, one of those planes. If it's a couple embracing, you want their embrace to be at one of those lines. Whatever it is, you want to utilize that rule of thirds. And my dad used to teach me that before I could even get behind a camera. When I was little, he used to make me do that with stick figures. And yeah, I remember my dad was a very well-known photographer in the area, and he could shoot circles around me at any age, at any time. But he was amazing, and he taught me that drawing stick figures when I was like in kindergarten. So I knew the rule of thirds before I was even old enough to know really what it was. So here's another example of the rule of thirds. It also, this has a lot going for it. This was a local musician that I photographed, and he's the center. His eyes are at the plane where one of those lines intersects. There's leading lines there, and I also used light to frame him. So this is a very good example of utilizing a couple of those things. Here's another one. The saxophone player is in that rule of thirds area. This is in Jamaica. And honestly, it wasn't even that dark when I took this photograph, but by knowing the light and exposing for the sun, I got him in shadow. And actually this hangs over our fireplace. Number 8, have plenty of media and batteries. Okay, so go to the Christmas party and you're all ready to shoot and you haven't looked at your camera since Easter, and you open up your bag and you have no batteries, you have no memory cards. So make sure you have all that. Make sure everything is charged up and ready to go. It sounds like a silly thing, but do you know how many photographs are missed because people don't have that? So definitely make sure that you have plenty of batteries, more than you need. I used to travel with enough memory and batteries to do probably 6 weddings, but I was never going to run out, and I never did in 19 years. And also, when you reformat cards, and you should reformat them after you've put the images onto, your computer or Google Drive or wherever you store them, then you want to reformat the cards. But you want to do that after you have moved those onto a service or a hard drive or something. Don't reformat cards at an event, because the likelihood of messing up and getting rid of everything that you shot up to that point is too risky. So always delete your cards when you are home, relaxed, and at a computer or wherever you do to back them up. Number 9 is to take risks and have fun. So you mess a shot. You maybe get, people are usually willing to go along with you if you want to try something. Here's a mom and dad and baby, and they were just having a great time, and just have fun. And that's what that picture says to me, is fun. Here's another one. I just love this kid. Can you tell? His mom was a great client of mine, and he was just so goofy. I love it. And number 10, know your camera. So the job is to be smarter than the camera. So read your manual. If it's a phone, read up on, if I do this, then this. And if you know that for example, a lot of cameras will overcompensate for light. If you know that, then you trick it. You just trick it into not thinking that there's less light there than you want, or there's a lot of ways to do that. So the only way you can know that is to know your camera. And up until a few years ago, I didn't really understand how to manipulate that on an iPhone, and I have just found the iPhone to be an amazing camera. So of course I have a professional Nikon camera, but the times that I get that out are you know, I get it out when we're taking our family photos and things like that. But when we're just day to day out and about, you know, my iPhone is what I always have with me. So don't be afraid to, you know, just dig in there and learn about it. I mean, take an iPhone photography class, or there's a lot of stuff online about how to, you know, how to get an iPhone camera to do what you want it to do. It's really pretty amazing. And if you're buying a camera, which it is that time of year, here's a few tips. First, consider how you're going to use it. Are you going to take lessons and learn all about aperture, shutter speed, all those things? Then you want to buy an SLR and take a class, okay? If you want to just have something that's point and shoot, then you want to look at all the point and shoots and consider, okay, here's what I want to do with it. If you take that information to a reputable camera store, and I mean a camera store, I don't mean a giant box store, I mean a camera store. Doesn't mean you have to buy it in that camera store, but those people working at the camera store have a lot of knowledge. So you want to go into the camera store and say, I want a camera because my daughter's in dance. Okay, so then they know that you need something that can capture low light, because a lot of those situations are in low light. You need something that can capture something fast, you know. So if they know those things, they can help you find the right camera. Okay, I'll put a few that I recommend down in the description. And you know, honestly, it's not the camera that makes a good photographer. The camera's a tool. I had once heard that someone asked a photographer, wow, you shoot the wedding and they're paying you that much? You must have a great camera. And the reply was, what do you do for a living? And the man said, I'm a plumber. And the photographer said, well, you must have a really great wrench. So the camera is just a tool. The photographer is what makes it art, and what captures a memory. So I hope that helps you. Those are 10 tips. I could go way into more depth, but that is just a basic things to get you started, to maybe just improve your holiday photos a little bit. And closing, I'm going to close with a small slideshow of some of the work I've done. And actually, it's not a real recent slideshow. It's from several years ago, because it's from when I did this workshop last. But I still think it's a great representation of the kind of work that I did as a photographer. So. thank you so much for bearing through this. Happy sewing. Happy sewing with fabric and photographs. Happy photographing, and Merry Christmas. See you later.